Before you understand a single word of what you're listening to now, your brain has already decided whether to trust my voice. This has happened in the fraction of a second, below the threshold of any choice you could call your own. That is where we're going today. There is a long tradition in Western thought, from the ancient Greeks through the medieval philosophers right up to the Renaissance, of describing the human being as a layered creature. Not simply an animal, but not purely a rational mind either, something more complicated, more interesting than either. These thinkers had a name for the layer just beneath conscious thought. They called it the appetitive, the instinctive, the dimension of our nature that we share in varying degrees with the rest of the animal kingdom. Not a shameful thing, simply a fact of our nature that deserves to be known. Modern psychology, with a very different vocabulary, has arrived at exactly the same recognition. A vast amount of what makes us human is already operating before we are aware of anything at all. Consider the infant. A human baby comes into the world equipped with capacities that no one taught and no one could teach. Within hours of birth, a newborn will turn its eyes towards a face rather than any other pattern of comparable complexity. Not because it's learned what faces mean. Something in the architecture of the nervous system already knows that faces matter. By 6 months old, a baby could distinguish the sounds of every human language on Earth, including languages it's never heard. That window closes. By 12 months, the child has narrowed its sensitivity to the sounds of its mother tongue alone. This is not a loss. It is the beginning of belonging to a particular place, a particular people. But notice what happened. The deeper shaping of how we receive language, which sounds will forever feel natural to us, which ones will always feel foreign, was decided before conscious life had properly begun. Language itself is perhaps the most remarkable example. Children acquire it with breathtaking ease, despite the fact that the input they receive is fragmentary, inconsistent, often ungrammatical. Something in the human being is prepared for language. The architecture as the mind expects it. Something else in them from beings. At a very early age, long before language, babies show awareness that objects continue to exist when they're hidden from view. Cover a toy, and the child still knows it's there. This sounds trivial, but it's not. It suggests something almost philosophical, a primitive sense that the world has a kind of permanence, an underlying continuity that persists beyond what the senses can directly confirm. A simple, wordless faith in the fabric of things. And then there is the matter of meaning. As you listen to these words, you're not choosing to understand them. Meaning simply arrives. The decoding of language, the connection of a particular pattern of sound to a concept, an image, a feeling, happens entirely below the level of conscious decision. By the time you're aware of understanding, the understanding's already done. This is the ordinary condition of adult life. Experience, repeated, hardens into habit. This is in many ways merciful. Once you've learnt to ride a bicycle, you don't have to think about balance. Once you've driven a car for years, your hands know the roundabout before your attention arrives there. Habit frees consciousness for other things, but there is a shadow side. Behaviour that springs entirely from habit is unconsidered behaviour. And unconsidered behaviour, however confident, however automatic, is at root irrational. It simply repeats the paths without examining. And this is the thing I want you to sit with. This pre-reflective region, this instinctive habitual substrate that underlies conscious life, is not a neutral recording device. It's a meaning-making system. It determines, in advance of any deliberate thought, what registers as real, what feels true, what seems worth taking seriously. Most people navigate their entire lives from within its conclusions, without ever knowing that that is what they do. The philosopher, the contemplative in every tradition, is the person who learns to become aware of what is operating in this layer. Not to destroy it, not to transcend it in some dramatic sense, but to know it. Because if this region has been shaped by culture, by repetition, by unexamined assumptions, to treat spiritual experiences implausible, that judgment will already have been delivered before you're ever consciously able to consider the question. The door closes before you reach it. Becoming aware of what lives in this instinctive layer is not, therefore, a luxury. In the context of any serious inner life, it may be the most important thing there is. The position of instincts in our colour compass of consciousness is crucial. It helps determine what we take to be true. It quietly influences what we choose is important.